Good afternoon. Welcome. This is CloudChartist with your weekly Ichimoku wrap for the week ending August 19th. This is Sunday night, the 21st. I apologize for not putting out a weekly wrap-up video for last week. I was busy with house guests and I meant to get around to doing it during the week and I just never did, so I'm sorry. If I see anything relevant to last week, while I'm going through this week's charts, I will let you know. So we're going to start off looking at the ES. We see that the ES is bullish in all ways Ichimoku. It is looking a bit extended above the Tenkan-sen and the cloud. The cloud is flat below, but we are not yet overbought on the RSI yet. I use RSI as a sort of a secondary overbought or oversold indicator, although Ichimoku can do that itself because you can just visually see if it's extended over the cloud. We did put in a new high last week, and we did find some selling, closed slightly off the highs, only about 7-8 points off the highs. So still in a very bullish configuration here. And that's about all I have to say about the ES. Quite bullish. Let's look at crude. We had a contract roll last week. That was pretty exciting. So we see that. So here's a good reason to bring up last week's video that I didn't make. So last week's candle is this one here. We see that we came down after putting in a potential reversal the week before that I mentioned as a potential reversal. We did indeed confirm the reversal with a higher high and a higher low. And we did close outside of the cloud, but we weren't able to close above the Tenkan-sen. So the Tenkan-sen had potential for acting as resistance. Let's zoom in even a little bit more to see more clearly. Tenkan-sen is this blue line here. Tenkan-sen last week was located at 44.86, and we see that the candle closed at 44.69, so just a couple 20 points or so underneath the Tenkan-sen. Then we see that last week's candle opened up and came down and tested the top of the cloud. Let's see how close it got. The top of the cloud is at 44.32 and the low was 44.38. So 6 ticks above the cloud is where it tested, and then put in a very bullish move to the upside. I don't know if you can hear the rain. It started raining really loud at my house just now. So what we're looking for going forward into the upcoming week is we don't see anything over here to be cautious about, but we do see over here the Chikou. The Chikou is still under the cloud here, and the Chikou is going to have to deal with the resistance of the cloud. So if we move over one candle to here, which is where the new candle is going to be, we see that the cloud is right at about the same level that we're at right now. And that's obviously a resistance level. We can see none of these candles managed to get over that level as well. So it will be interesting to see if we can actually move higher or if we do some flagging above the flat cloud here. Nothing to think about as far as overbought or oversold, very neutral in that regard. If we do sell, we can expect to find support down here at the Tenkan-sen at 44.86, and then the cloud below that at 44.32. So if we do actually sell off, that would be like almost 5 points of a sell-off. But I would be interested in potentially buying selling to the Tenkan-sen if we did indeed hold the Tenkan-sen. If you want to be bullish for crude, it's important for the Chikou, this red line here, representing price time shifted 26 periods into the past, to break into the cloud. It will still have resistance all the way through the cloud. Let's see if we can see the top of the cloud here. You see that the top of the cloud is quite a bit higher, and let's see, it's going to be here. So resistance is at 66.83 here. So that's significantly higher from here, 17 points or so, 18 points almost. So if the Chikou does make it into the cloud, it's going to be sort of like in quicksand So price action might be slowed down during this area. All right, let's move on to some other stock indexes. Let's look at the Russell. Russell is still looking quite bullish. We did have a potential reversal candle here that was denied. The uptrend did continue. This is a bit of a spinning top type candle, so it's uncertain what will happen next, although overall the indications are bullish. If we do, and we do see that the Chikou has moved out of the cloud horizontally, which had to happen. We see that the cloud has much lower support for the Chikou. So if we do get a correction lower, we can expect the Chikou to find support at an area closer than where the Tenkan-sen is right now. So the Chikou will find support down here at the cloud. Below that's around 1177, and then the Tenkan-sen is at 1155. We'll see. It will probably be higher, a little bit higher, when the new candle opens up for the evening, for the week. We are somewhat overbought, but not quite redlining or blue lining, as the case may be. Let's look at the NASDAQ. So the NASDAQ is looking extremely bullish, very strong uptrend, although we did put in a long-legged spinning top type doji here after making a new high, so we could see some sideways action. We did make a higher high and a higher low, but we could see some flagging action. This situation here, where the Tenkan-sen and the Kijun-sen are pretty close together, is a little bit dangerous, as it could indicate the possibility for a bear cross, which would be if the pink line crosses over the blue line here. So if we get much of a pullback from the NASDAQ, like for instance, say back to this area from over here last year's, like the end of last year, we could find some support. But if we go much lower than that, I would expect a bear cross potential to be quite high. The cloud is pretty far below and is flat. We know that flats attract price in Ichimoku, but really price needs to be pretty closer to a flat in order for the flat to really attract. Think of a magnet, and the power that a magnet has, the closer you are to it, the stronger it is. Let's look at the Dow. Similar to the other indexes, the Tenkan-sen configuration looks a little bit different because it's been flat for a while, because we've been getting some more like sideways action than uptrend on the Dow lately. So this is kind of a classic bull flag with sideways consolidation. So it'll be interesting to see. This range is pretty tight for the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 weeks or so. So we'll see what happens. We do have a very small candle body here for last week after making a new high. It seems entirely likely that we could continue to move sideways again, although, you know, overall the chart is bullish, quite bullish. Let's move on to some metals. Let's look at gold. Gold is in a big bull flag on the weekly, although we do have the Tenkan-sen has gone flat, suggesting potential for a pullback to the Tenkan-sen. That would be a potential buy point if you were interested in getting long gold but thought it was a bit too rich here. A potential for a pullback to the Tenkan-sen at 13.15.20 is significant. That's like 30 points lower, $30 lower. I'm not sure where the Tenkan-sen will open for the next this week's candle, but seeing how last week's candle and this week's candle are pretty similar, chances are it'll probably continue sideways. If we were to lose the 13.15.20, then we could consider potentially a bear cross situation for gold. But overall, quite bullish. Let's look at silver. Silver is a nice bear flag and actually came down and was attracted to that flat Tenkan-sen there. The Tenkan-sen's at 19.16.5. The low was 1922, so only about 6 cents from the Tenkan-sen. So it'd be important to make sure that if you're bullish on silver, that it holds the Tenkan-sen here. If it loses the Tenkan-sen, then there could be a chance that it would come down and potentially retest the Kijun-sen below all the way down at 1719. But overall, silver looking quite bullish. Let's look at some treasuries, shall we? Interesting moves in the treasury bonds. You know, the FOMC minutes came out and the bonds got bought, but with all the QE that's been going on in the in European bonds, like the gilt, for instance, there's been a lot of selling in U.S. bonds in harmony with those, including the Bund as well has been selling as of late. So we saw that we did actually lose support of the Tenkan-sen here on the weekly time frame at 171.18. The likelihood is that we do have this window area here that has, let me zoom in so you can see better. This is a open body gap window here. It has not been filled by a body. It did get filled by this by multiple tails, but hasn't been filled by a candle body yet. So we could come down and fill that in with a candle body, and we could come down all the way to 169.04 and test the Kijun-sen. And then it's quite important to hold the Kijun-sen if you want to be bullish on treasuries. Otherwise, we could come back down and test this former consolidation zone range here, top of the range here around 166.25, let's say. We do have a very supportive cloud for a move higher, and overall this chart is bullish, except for the fact that it closed under the Kijun-sen, under the Tenkan-sen. That's not very bullish. Okay, let's look at the 10-year. Also closed below the Tenkan-sen for the first time, or actually not for the first time, because it did close 2 weeks ago. It closed down below the Tenkan-sen also, then corrected higher, and now back down again. So there's a chance that we could come down all the way to 131.045 where the Kijun-sen is. Unless we want to be bullish, then we could look for 132.145 to act as resistance on the way back up. And we would need to put in a close over the Tenkan-sen to be fully bullish again for ZN. Let's look at corn, because corn is actually had a bullish week last week. We see that there 2 weeks ago, corn put in a potential reversal candle after making a spike low down here, and then a bullish reversal to the upside. So the chances are decent that will continue higher. How high, we're not sure. There is going to be resistance at the cloud up here. That's quite a ways away for now, around 367, 63. So we'll just continue to keep an eye on corn. There's another resistance, potential resistance here. If the Chikou runs into these candles, could find resistance at around 350, 355, 357, something like that. So that's a potential snafu for trying to get long corn at this juncture. Right. What am I forgetting? Let's look at the dollar. It's a crazy big old, very extended consolidation period for a bull flag. But it's not bullish because price action is under the cloud. And it did lose support of the Tenkan-sen and the Kijun-sen last week and put in a close below. So the dollar is bearish at the moment. If we do get a move higher, we can look for the Kijun-sen at 95.24-ish to act as resistance, and then also the Tenkan-sen at 95.32. So and then if it does get over those two levels, then we can expect potential for resistance at the top of the cloud. if we are looking for a move lower from the dollar, there's several potential support levels below, like especially this 92, like 93 level looks quite strong for a potential bounce if we do continue selling on the dollar. Let's look at the Nikkei. Japan had some very bad data come out last week, so the Nikkei actually it just looks quite sideways here on the weekly chart. It looked quite bearish there the last couple of days. Well, it really started selling in the beginning of the week, and then continued selling for the rest of the week. So it's started up here and came down, but it did hold the Kijun Sen at 16,408. So if you want, if you're bullish on the Nikkei, you want that level to hold. But we're going to have resistance at the cloud here, so don't get too excited to be getting long the Nikkei, as overall price action is still bearish on the Nikkei. Bear with me, I'm just looking up to see if there's anything I'm forgetting. Let's take a look at the euro. Why not? The euro is that an inverse head and shoulders? That's pretty crazy pattern, but we did see that the euro got bought last week after being rejected by the Tenkan Sen the prior week before. Let me zoom in, you can see better. It did hold the support of the cloud, but was stuck in this range between the cloud and the Tenkan Sen for the last 3 weeks. And then last week it blasted through the Tenkan Sen and through the Kijun Sen and above. So it's cleared for takeoff higher if it wants to. The Chikou has nothing to run into here until much higher. There are a lot of topping tails in this general vicinity though, and there is a flat cloud that could potentially track price action lower, and also flat Kijun Sen and flat Tenkan Sen that could attract price action lower. All right, well, I think I'm going to wrap it up. I want to thank you for joining me, and I would love it if you appreciate this video, if you give me a thumbs up on YouTube. It lets me know that you care, and it also helps me with bandwidth in the future if I do any live streaming. Apparently it's would be helpful. And feel free to leave me a comment if you like. And also, if you are interested in learning Ichimoku charting or trading using Ichimoku charts, I do teach that, and I do have a chat room where I trade live every day. Been doing quite well in there recently, so you can check out my website at CloudChartist.com if you're interested, or feel free to hit me up on Twitter at CloudChartist, or send me an email at cloudchartist@gmail.com. Thanks a lot, and have a great rest of the weekend, and good luck trading this week. Hopefully we will get something more exciting than what we've had as of late. Take care.